Hi, my name is Jessica McRail, and I am recording Module 8, the legal aspects of teacher evaluation. The outline for today will be to review 3 articles, to do an overview of evaluation in Shawnee Mission School District, and to review a legal case, and then finally a reflection. We're going to start with article reviews. So the first article I'm going to review is Teacher Evaluation and Issue Overview. So they answered a few questions in this article. The first one was, what are teacher evaluations? It is basically a formal process a school uses to review and rate teachers' performance and effectiveness in their classroom. Why have there been issues surrounding evaluations lately? Policy makers have changed the way evaluations look in school districts. Therefore, what makes a proficient teacher in one school district doesn't mean that it is the same in another school district, and even for that matter, from state to state. The next question was, how does it work? So evaluations, they heavily rely on teacher observations, which are done by the evaluator, and the Danielson framework for teaching, so a rubric that is used as an outline of what the expectations are. Many test scores are used as a way of eliminating a relationship bias. So when staff members have a relationship with each other as friends, it can have an effect on the way that they evaluate them, and it can be difficult to provide appropriate feedback. Some states use a value-added model, and we'll get into more detail about what that is in a little bit. The next one is how the teachers union responded to these changes to evaluation. They are all for having evaluations provide feedback to an educator. That's exactly why evaluations are there, is to have proficient teachers and give them the best methods for teaching. They also are against having evaluations connect to pay and tenure. So they feel like they should just be feedback more than they are connected to those things because of the value-added model, which we'll get into, like I said, later. They're concerned about evaluation systems that the test scores use in a value-added model due to that discrepancy of students with disabilities or students that have challenging home situations. They can be different from grade to grade, student to student, state to state, area to area. So they feel like that's a concern that they need to look into. And it's unfair for teachers that are in untested subjects. So we think about teachers that have their evaluations connected to test scores. So what about those teachers that don't have it? So they are just saying that that's completely unfair that they are going to be evaluated connected to that. The next article is Teacher Evaluation Heads to Court. This is about litigation around teacher evaluation. So they're challenging the aspects of the system, both state and in federal court. They're focusing on procedural and substantive claims. So in New Mexico and Louisiana, they are challenging how the new systems were put into place. In Tennessee and Florida, they are looking at key grading components, specifically the use of student score. So again, relating that test score to teacher evaluation, and if you're a proficient teacher or not, whether your test scores come out high or low. In New York, they're talking about the system's baseline fairness. So it doesn't account for variation in student poverty. So that's, again, back to that value-added model where it's discrepant. In Nevada, the evaluations and how they relate to tenure. So they are really looking at, should your pay or should your tenure be related to your evaluations? And if you get a bad evaluation when you are tenured, should you be able to be fired or non-tenured? These cases are important because they'll shape the future of evaluation systems. The last article is called Opportunity in Action equals Great Public Schools for Every Student. Every Student Succeeds Act. So Every Student Succeeds Act is basically an act that ended all the federal government's involvement in evaluations and left it to the states to determine. Therefore, states must develop their own goals, short and long, to gauge school performance and teacher performance. So they can use test scores, but that cannot be the sole determination of what makes a school performing or teacher evaluation performance. So if they can't use just test scores, they must have multiple methods of evaluating educator performance, but they leave this up to the states to determine. It also means bargaining laws are preserved under ESSA. So anytime you change anything in the evaluation system, some school districts have it in their bargaining with NEA, is that any change you have to make has to go through the bargaining team. NEA developed a toolkit to help guide when implementing and modifying the evaluation system. So this is something to look forward if you are on the bargaining team or a school district to see what is the best method and ways to do that. The next thing we're going to look at is Shawnee Mission School District's evaluation process. So SMS teacher evaluation, you can see in this graph there's a beginning, middle, and end. Shawnee Mission School District uses a KEEP system to evaluate teachers. So this is the state system that was recently adopted within the last couple years. This year is the first year of full implementation. Last year it was an opt-in, so you could try it out if you wanted to. But this year it is the only option. So in the beginning, the evaluatee completes a self-assessment and develops goals, while the evaluator provides feedback on both those things. In the middle of the process, the evaluatee is documenting goal progress, collecting artifacts, which is basically what we call evidence of progression of these goals and student artifacts. Participates in ongoing feedback and conversation with the evaluator. During the middle of the evaluation time, the evaluator completes formal and informal observations. Most staff members or evaluators in Shawnee Mission will set up a formal time that they're going to say, hey, I'm going to come into your room, I'm going to look at this and this and that, and they usually know when they're coming. Shawnee Mission is not really much known for informal observations. They are more formal, and they'll tell you when you're coming. Tell them when they're coming. The evaluator will collect artifacts as they're observing, and they'll participate in ongoing feedback and conversation when they do observations. In the end of the evaluation process, the evaluatee provides responses after the evaluator has completed their observations, and they'll provide a response. Evaluator will complete the SGM assessment, the IPP assessment, and determine overall summative rating, which we'll get into next. So when we're looking at the final summative rating, it's broken down into two prongs. So the instructional practice protocol summary rating and the student performance summary rating. So on the student performance, they have 3 students that they're going to be collecting artifacts throughout the year that are connected to the goals that the teacher is being evaluated on. And the other prong, instructional practice protocol summary rating, they have 4 areas that they're going to look at. So professional responsibility, instructional practice, content knowledge, and student learning. And they all this will be done through observation of like how throughout the lesson, informal, was the teacher meeting these areas. And all of these areas together will get a final summative rating. So you can see on this matrix to determine overall summative rating, this is the 2 prongs. On the left, you have the student performance summary rating, and then in the green, the instructional practice summary rating, and then the final summative. So this is just an example one that was given, and then this is how they determine the final overall summative rating. And then this is where the teacher will get this final rating at the end of their evaluation. So legal supports to the educator. So we have Kansas Statute 729003, which is not on this, but basically that's just saying that your first and second year you need to be evaluated, and then you're on rotation at year 3. But the the biggest legal support for teachers during evaluation is not just saying like, yes, you need to be evaluated, but it's this Kansas Statute 729004. The title of this is called Evaluation Policies, Criteria, Development, Procedure, Evaluation Required Prior to Contract Renewal. So this last part of the evaluation required prior contract to contract non-renewal is the biggest part. So basically, on this last part, it's F of this statute, and it says that basically you cannot have your contract non-renewed based upon evaluation without being aware that you were not performing up to standards. There has to be a process that needs to go through, and you need to have the option or given the ability to know what happened and then have a plan of improvement. And in addition, your evaluator must have followed all the evaluation expectations from the state, which is set in 729003. So that is really legally the best support we have as an educator, that if we were going to get non-renewed based upon evaluation. However, SMSD teacher contract no longer has a statement regarding disputes. So if we disagreed with the outcome of the evaluation, there is a statement saying professional evaluation is not a reason to file grievance or to initiate the grievance procedure. We're going to look at a legal case now. Itros Letterman versus the Board of Education in the City of New York. So this is where I'm going to talk about the value-added models. So Sherry Letterman was a veteran teacher, and one year she scored effective on her evaluation with this value-added model, and the next year she was scored ineffective in one area because of this value-added model. So basically what happens is like all the areas that she was evaluated on as a teacher in her instruction and her measurement were all adequate, effective. But then when her students that year on the standardized test didn't do as well, she got ineffective on an area. Therefore, she sued the state of New York, basically saying that demoralized her when she got that ineffective. The outcome was that the judge vacated her score, but that these results were only for her. So basically the outcome only affected her. It didn't affect any other people in New York because of the policies in New York and because they were doing a 4-year study on these value-added models. The judge did say that the evaluation completed on Letterman were arbitrary and capricious due to the fact that one year she scored effective and the next year she didn't, based upon these value-added models. So my final reflection, I would ensure that I'm going to follow the legal issues associated with the evaluation process. The best way I can do this is follow and understand the school process. So I need to reach out to the people that really understand the evaluation process and make sure that I'm following it. And I need to be aware and follow all state and local laws. That's on me. I need to make sure that I'm looking out for myself and being aware of all these. And I also need to look to other principals as mentor and a resource and see, if they've had situations that they've learned from or some areas that I have questions on. I can really look to them as someone that could help me. Thank you.